final two hormones I want to talk about are something called endorphins. And if you've got any sort of links to sports or whatever, you'll be aware of the concept of endorphins. If you haven't, I'm just going to explain them quickly to you. They're like a natural painkiller that's released with physical activity. So they tend to make you feel better, more alive when you've taken part in some sort of physical activity. They're also released actually through laughter as well. So what does that tell us? What does that give us if you're delivering activity and you want to motivate people? The first thing is that some sort of physical activity is going to make them feel better in themselves. And the second thing is we need to have a bit of a laugh when we're actually delivering. And if you combine the two, you get a double whammy. So when we talk about physical activity, the traditional model of it has been chair-based exercise. And I've taught that for near on 30 years. It's still valid, but there's a broader way of finding physical activity. So when we talk about exercising older people now, the real thing that we're starting to see and the research is starting to come up through with is about maintaining some sort of muscle mass on the body. So you can do that with chair-based exercise, but it's more the resistance element, the weights training, the strength training element that you're looking at. If you broaden the concept of physical activity, you can include people in that normally just wouldn't take part in the structured exercise session. So where we are at the moment, we have a wood burner, and as part of that, there was probably in the region of about 7 tons of wood delivered. And my wife is a reluctant exerciser. She'll do it, but she knows she needs to, and she knows it's good for her, but she really doesn't enjoy it. And she got into stacking the wood, and she actually really enjoyed stacking wood. So I was thinking at the point whether or not, really she should be still going on a bike and doing the rest of it to maintain cardio or whatever. But then it dawned on me that all it really is the bike is there because people are not physical exercise bike. Sometimes weights are there because people are not doing any manual work. So we get stuck into a concept of what physical activity should be, or I have. And what I'd say to you is, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So people will tell me that an older person can't lift weights, or they can't stack wood, or they can't do the gardening, or they can't sweep up outside. They can if you support them to do it. And it's the limit of your imagination to do that dictates whether these activities happen. The final sort of neurochemical is something called Anandamide, and it's basically produces a state of happiness. It's linked in with endorphins, so when the two are run together, it increases the effect. So when you're talking about the release of anandamide, what you really want to do is you want to combine physical activity with some sort of reminiscence work, because the physicality of actually using the body and the reminiscence work together increase the release of anandamide into the system. And again, it makes people feel very positive and very happy. So if you understand the hormones that we've spoken about over the last 3 videos, you're basically understanding a little bit of how to manipulate your limbic system, or the gorilla in your brain, and make that feel positive and good. So for lack of a better analogy, you're feeding it bananas. You're making it feel like it wants to be there, it wants to be part of what you're offering. Hope that's helpful, and I'll give you some more in the next videos.